The opinions expressed on Plastic Fantastic are intended for educational and informational purposes only and are not meant as a diagnosis, treatment, or substitute for professional medical advice. The mention of any product, treatment, or procedure on the show does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation and is purely for the information and education of the public.
Welcome to Plastic Fantastic, a weekly show dedicated to the latest in plastic surgery, aesthetics, beauty, and wellness. Now, here are your hosts, board-certified surgeons Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good morrow.
Welcome to Plastic Fantastic
with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson
and Dr. Robert Silich.
Back again.
First show of
Rocktober.
Now, why do you call it that?
I don't know. It just sounds cool.
It sounds, everything you say sounds cool, though.
Rocktober, Oktoberfest.
Yes, month long. Can we talk about food already and drink?
Oh,
no, we're gonna.
So there. What is the?
Can we at least mention that we have a title for our show?
Is
today?
it Breast Cancer Awareness Month? You would know
Yes,
this.
I believe so.
Doing all the breast surgery that you do, it is right. I think October is. It's a pink ribbon month.
It is the pink ribbon.
Should be every month, but
And I think our society, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, does a relatively decent job of making that a known fact and publicizing it. There's a whole arm out there of the society that does a couple of different things in terms of patient education, like telling them what a board-certified plastic surgeon is and what someone who claims to be a plastic surgeon might be. That is not
more
a
and more of it every day, you know.
Yes, well, we talk about this all the time because the things, they are a-changing. The times, they are a-changing.
We're losing the fight, sad to say.
Well, I don't know if we're losing it, but it's become an assault on all sides, on all fronts.
It is. Got to stay ready.
Brings me to the title of the show today.
Yeah.
Beauty at the forefront.
On the front lines.
Yes. Beauty of all types. We're actually going to have a special guest. I like doing the special guests because listening to my voice certainly gets tiring.
Well, I could listen to it forever. Having a guest, I've said before, really keeps you on your toes. Remember the Beatles and Stones always used to invite a guest guy in there when things were going raucous. More the Beatles and the Stones.
Is that who we're emulating? Is it the Beatles and
Why
the
wouldn't
Stones?
you? Right? Don't you wake up every morning and say, what would Keith do? What would Keith or Mick do?
Absolutely. First thought in my mind. I open my eyes. I look out the window.
Oh, what's so sad is it's not too far from the truth. God.
That's our source of inspiration. Everybody needs a muse.
Everybody needs something to believe in. By the way, who is our special guest? Why don't we introduce her? She's not on yet, but she's coming.
Do you want to keep the audience in suspense?
No, come on. Listeners? They know it's not going to be the Queen Consort.
Oh.
Or the Duchess of...
When you started with the Queen, I was like, well, it's definitely not going to be the Queen.
Okay, hey, it's too soon. Come on.
Oh, even 10 days of the funerary
It's
procession?
too soon for me. You know that. You know how I feel about that.
Do you need to go back to London first?
About His and Her Majesty's Internet.
Do you need to go back to London before we can even mention those
Well, first of all,
so
you may want to go back to London because of the pound right now.
What's going on? Is it at equity?
It's in free fall. It is in equity with the dollar, so go get a suit.
That's pretty crazy. How come you're still here? You should be in England.
Right? That's what I said to myself this morning when you put on those headphones and said, good afternoon. Yeah.
Jump on the plane. And
they're doing all sorts of things to make it better.
They probably have Oktoberfest there, too.
Listen, by the time I book it to get there, it'll be...
It'll be over.
Yeah, totally. It'll be horrible.
No, I'm sure your very nice gentlemen who take care of you on Savile Row will be very happy to see you.
Who is our special guest?
Our special guest is Sue-Lynn Farrell. She is here in New York City. She's going to be joining us in a short time period.
Partner, spouse, wife of...
Julien Farrell, who has a very popular...
It just sounds cool. He just sounds cool.
So they have a hair salon and spa.
Yeah, very successful here in New York.
Very, very busy with the hoity-toities, the people that are seen and to be seen with.
And just cool people in general.
Everyone else. So they cater to a whole host of clientele.
So we do have referring doctors and we do have referring physicians and patient-to-patient referrals. But in plastic surgery and what you and I do, one of the...
Beauty business.
Yeah, I guess it is the beauty business. The people that we're very, very closely associated with are people that, such as Sue-Lynn, who basically... operate and run salons.
So we're going to ask her, yes, exactly, what some of the procedures are that they do. Because you and I, unlike some other plastic surgeons, I think there are a lot of plastic surgeons who also do like a med spa on the side or do some kind of skincare stuff. And we've steered clear of that. We're the diehards.
We're purists.
We are plastic surgeons.
Right. Give me a knife and a fork and a rag and we'll get it done.
Just the knife.
Right? Just the knife.
It's just the sharp blade and
right.
some medical instruments, surgical instruments.
Yeah, so she's taking some time out of her busy schedule to join us in a little bit, which is going to be good. In the meantime, let's tell everyone about our email. That was your cue, by the way, but I'll do it. Plastic
I was going to
Fantastic.
say, wait, I missed that one. Which one do you want to respond to?
It's Plastic Fantastic Show
Oh, this is for people to send
at
us email.
gmail.com. Do we have an email to read? Want to do
No,
that?
you didn't finish. It's our email address. That's why
I
when you
just
said
did that.
email. I know.
Well, what email do we have?
When you said
Did you
email,
tee one up for us?
I didn't. I have nothing. I got Oktoberfest. Beer on the brain.
So our sleepy September, as we call it, is coming to a close. We're now in October, and things are starting to perk up in our world.
People have come to the realization that fall is here to stay.
Yeah, September's a transitional month, I think, for us because of...
It's time to say goodbye to summer.
I know. It's transitional because kids go back to school. There are holidays in New York once they all pass, and we get into October before the biggie holidays come rolling around. We see a little blip in business, which we're starting to see now. People are kind of settled into the new season, and they're doing
back.
stuff.
They're back, baby. I'll be back.
Yeah.
To quote the inimitable.
Which is Arnold. I love him. But by the way, that's why this is going to be good to talk to Sue Lin too, because they have more of a steady, I'm sure they have seasons as well, but they, I think, have much more of a steady state of business in the aesthetic world.
In the world of beauty.
Right. Except, of course, I guess for the pandemic, where you couldn't get your hair cut for a while.
Well, they had the hairdressers come to their house. Where there's a will, there's a way. I think anytime that you want something badly enough. And then there were those at-home kits that you could order online to do your color.
There was the Flowbee.
C'est quoi?
The Flowbee. You wouldn't know this because in America, when I was a kid, this was an infomercial.
How do you
something
spell
called,
it, first of all?
I think it's FLOWBEE. An electric razor that had all these different attachments. Then you could just whiz
Cut
through
your own hair?
your scalp. Yeah, it's not pretty though. Whiz through your scalp with it.
How's that different than those wall things,
Kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Well, wall, I think, is like a legit clipper that
I
that
see.
barbershops
Clippers,
still
that's right.
use.
Yes.
But the
'Cause those
Flowbee
have
was kind
different,
of some
attachments.
genius figured you put all these attachments on it and you could literally use it all over your head.
And give yourself a crew cut?
Spectacular haircut. I don't know. I've never happened to Maura.
Well, we have today Dr. Robert Silich, a.k.a. the Hair Master. So
yes.
we definitely wouldn't want to do anything
it's very important
to mess up your haircut.
So before we get Sue Lin here, let's talk about some of the front lines of the stuff we have to deal with. So we get a lot of bizarre requests.
Well, not a lot, but maybe the occasional.
Enough for me to warrant saying this business is insane.
Enough that it sticks with you,
It
right?
sure does.
It's
Just
like
takes 1 out of 100 where you're like, guess what I saw today?
all the things that go perfectly smoothly, where there's no surprise factor. Those are the ones that you don't even think about because it's almost rote or routine. It's the strange ones.
I got a lot of Harry Styles lately. People just liking Harry, his look, men and women.
Do you follow him? See, how do you have time?
How can you not? You don't even have to follow him.
I knew he
He's
was in New
everywhere.
York City. The other thing we had here, by the way, just as an aside, was the UN, which talk about
Bad hair?
wreaking havoc with New York City
God.
across the board.
For those of you that have never been to New York City or lived here during that period of time when that is in session, man, it is a nightmare.
They do things on purpose just to irritate and exasperate.
You think?
So absolutely. So case in point, I was having lunch this past weekend at San Ambrose.
As is your routine.
As is my routine. I do like that place.
What's not to like?
Coffee. You and I have coffee there, or got
Yeah.
coffee there
Yeah.
quite frequently. Anyway, very nice service. And so you can see 2 streets down is the Mark Hotel. And all of a sudden, these cops stop all traffic on Madison Avenue. And then they let the procession, Suburbans or whatever SUVs
It's
they
probably
were,
Harry Styles.
come across. But get this, instead of just going through, they stop one of the SUVs
Right in the middle of Madison.
right in the middle of Madison
Yeah, why
Avenue.
not?
The guys get out and make sure that nobody's crossing.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, really,
Think about
is
it.
that necessary?
When are you ever going to get the chance with your car to park in the middle of Madison Avenue? So that kid or that guy, the security guy, he's doing it,
Oh,
man.
my goodness. It was so... And then, of course, all of Madison Avenue goes crazy.
So who was
because
it?
I have no idea. Because
Wasn't
they were
Harry
around
Styles?
the corner. I was having lunch. I was just happy to have lunch and not be in a car
Oh,
that was stopped. And they do this all the time. They do it for the president. They do it for random people. vehicle.
Right.
This was definitely not the president, because there were only maybe 4 cars. And so I'm sure that they have a lot more than 4 cars whenever there's the presidential motorcade. So you were talking about other things that we have to look forward to in October.
What I was going back to, what we're going to hopefully talk to Sue Lin about is, you said, like, do you follow Harry Styles? And the thing is, of course I do not follow Harry Styles, but I know who he is because he's everywhere. But one of the things that our patients bring us into is the current state of beauty and aesthetics, like it or not, whether it's something like this, the BBL, the Brazilian butt lift that we've talked about before, which you and I do not do.
How is that even called a BBL?
I don't know, but it's got nothing to do with Brazil.
Or lift or anything else.
The butt is in there, though, so they got that B right. There is a butt in the operation. No, we have to basically, like it or not, we have to stay informed and we have to stay up on what the current aesthetic is. Now, fortunately, most of what you and I do is a little bit more classic and hopefully, dare I say, timeless.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't that nice?
Yes, I love it.
But people that are in the industry, such as Sue Lin, who we're going to talk to, and people that are makeup artists or that are in much more current fields that follow trends and fads.
Oh, I see. Yes.
They really have to stay up on it. And by the way, I think our dermatology brothers and sisters have to do that even more, because there is such a tremendous amount of new technology for non-invasive things that kind of come and go very quickly. And things that you and I are fortunate, I think we're fortunate enough to not have to deal with a lot of that, because we tend to look at, I think, kind of classic standards of beauty, and a little bit more in the spectrum of the aesthetic world, we're a little bit more conservative.
And the other thing I think is, as you mentioned, in terms of timelessness, so there are tried and true surgical procedures for cosmetic surgery goals that we've been doing for a while. And yes, there are some advances and there's some improvements that have occurred over the years, but there are many things that we do that the human body really hasn't changed all that much in the past 100 years. So there are definitely techniques that we've been using for quite some time. And so where you can see the longevity. With a lot of the newer techniques, the results are much more short-lived. They're much more subtle in a lot of ways. And as you said, people are trying to always come up with what's the next best thing, what's the great new thing out there. And you really don't have that much follow-up on those types of procedures, and you really can't. You just want to sort of keep changing and keep turning the page and keep being at the forefront of something that only you have thought of before. And we do have a lot of different technologies in terms of skin tightening, in terms of resurfacing, all of these modalities where they're coming up with improvements on the previous techniques. But the corollary to that is that, of course, then you have equipment that has fallen by the wayside.
Right. And, you know, somebody gave me a statistic once that the highest number of complications resulting in malpractice cases occur in the 6 months after our annual meetings that we have. Which which we talked about last week. Yeah, and I think it's because they'll be exposed to some new procedure or something that is just being started, or maybe 1 or 2 guys do it. They'll try it, and there's a steep learning curve, and that's kind of what happens. You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silic.
Are we going to break?
Yes, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to tell our listeners, because they're very eager to know how they can contact us.
Tell the listener how to get us.
Where they can listen to us also. That's your forte.
I love that, yeah.
I'll say YouTube.
Okay, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, Olivia, right? What else are we on? I think that's it.
Apple.
Yes, big on Apple.
A big one, too.
Right.
And our email address, if you have any comments, suggestions,
complaints,
criticisms, hopefully keep it nice, because we're nice people.
We could take it.
Please email us plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. We will get back to you with whatever answers we can come up with. And we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with Sue Lin Farrell, who is our guest star on today's podcast. We'll be right back.
Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silic and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson is coming right back.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song Stayin' Alive is the near-perfect beat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest, you only need 2 steps to help save a life. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest to the beat of the song Stayin' Alive. Disco is back and it's saving lives. To learn more, go to heart.org/hands-only-CPR.
Nationally supported by the WellPoint Foundation. Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. That's greenergadgets.org.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes!
Too much waiting for me. Yeah, I wanna go outside. I wanna be.
We're here.
Whoa, that was fast!
There's a forest closer than you think. Find a park or forest near you and music inspired by nature. DiscoverTheForest.org.
I'm Dr. David Hill with the American Academy of Pediatrics. Pediatricians have heard all the questions.
How big will I be when I grow up? Do you like unicorns? Why do we have to eat our vegetables? Why is poop smelly? If I get sick when my brother gets sick, why should I get a COVID shot? When will COVID go away?
If you have questions about the COVID vaccine for your child, call your child's pediatrician today and schedule a time to talk.
Plastic surgery with natural, elegant results. Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson returns now.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silich.
So last segment, we're talking about the front lines of beauty. I'm very excited today, and you know why.
Because we have a very special guest with us.
Which means we're going to be well behaved.
And we're going
at
to
least
give her the floor.
At least I am. I'm going to try.
You need to behave yourself a little bit
So tell us who our special guest is. I already know.
So we have Sue-Lynn Farrell with us today. Sue-Lynn, welcome very much to Plastic Fantastic. We are so happy that you are with us today. And we are delighted to be able to find out all sorts of things about what you do as manager and the brains behind the Farrell salon. So if you would like to just sort of tell us a little bit about the name of the salon, where you are, and what are the types of things that you do here in New York City.
Of course. Well, thank you both for having me today. I'm thrilled to be here. The name of our salon and spa here in New York is my husband's name, Julian Farrell Restore Salon and Spa. And we are in one of the best locations in Manhattan. We're on Park Avenue and 61st Street at the Loews Regency New York Hotel.
Fabulous.
And we also recently opened in Palm Beach, Florida, which is Julian Farrell as well, same name. So you can find us there this winter, and now all the time we'll be going back and forth between the two locations.
That's terrific. So you just opened the one down in Palm Beach recently?
Yes, we opened about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, that's great. That's exciting.
Awesome. Congratulations. Just in time for the snowbirds.
You know, we have so many regular clients already have been going between New York and Palm Beach. So we've been looking around for the last couple of years to find the right location. Came to fruition. So we're really excited about it.
That's great. Those listeners that may not know the geographics of Manhattan that well, the Regency Hotel is traditionally, Olivia and I, Sue-Lynn, were talking about the UN in the segment before we got you on, and we were saying what a mess it has been. There's a lot of big dignitaries in the Regency. Has that affected you guys these last couple of weeks?
It certainly has.
I'll bet.
Last week, we actually had 5 heads of state at the Regency, so it's always a really interesting time of year for us.
Yeah.
Because we do cater to those types of clients, and there's Secret Service around the hotel, near the garage, near every entrance. There's a metal detector out front to come in and out of the hotel. All of the blocks surrounding the Regency are blocked off, and you really feel like you're in a movie. We actually had the Prime Minister of Britain was in early one morning last week for a blowout.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
I will say she came with 3 assistants and 5 Secret Service.
Wow.
So did you do everybody's hair? Did she have like the best looking Secret Service?
No, I don't think that's quite in their corporate terms.
What a month she's had. New Prime Minister, new King, Queen's funeral. Yeah. There she is sitting in your salon. That's fantastic.
And Sue-Lynn, you don't know this, but Rob is a big aficionado of
a big hair person, Sue-Lynn. Yes,
London
and London
hair
yes.
and
Very
Savile
interesting.
Row. So.
We were touching on front lines of beauty, and I was saying that while we do have referral bases of doctors and patients, hopefully, what we identify with very, very closely and consider the front line are really the salons and the spas and exactly kind of what you do and what your husband does. And we rely on you guys a lot, I think, for what that forefront is and what the current trends are. We try and do something that's a little bit more timeless. Within surgery, it's hard to kind of keep up with trends, but certainly certainly in a lot of the non-invasive stuff that we do, we rely on you guys for what that is. I don't mean to put you on the spot with an exact answer, but are there things that you've seen in the last year or two or couple of years that have really been kind of a new change or a big trend with what you guys have been seeing?
Well, I would say our clients are pretty much split down the middle. What we've seen, we either have part of our clientele who are really interested in lower maintenance, meaning they're shifting their hair color to colorless. They may not be coming in. We had many clients who are coming in 2 to 3 times a week for blowouts and makeup and nails and lots of events. And I will say we're just starting to see that come back this fall, which is a welcoming increase for us. That's been just a change. I think people are more homebodies, less into their beauty routine. And then we have the other set who can't wait to go out and have really, really enhanced their social calendars. They got completely nuts during the pandemic and they said, I need to be out even more. Life is short and I want more beauty, more wellness, more facials, more massages. And certainly across the board, we're seeing self-care. I think self-care, whether people are talking about wellness, how they're eating, part of our business is also fitness. We do offer private training and we oversee and manage the fitness center here at the Regency.
That's great.
A big increase in workouts.
So, it's funny you should say that because just today there was an article in the Wall Street Journal that I haven't gotten to yet, but it basically talked about the fact that more women are foregoing color and are going gray and returning to the office au naturel, as it were. And then the opposite, the corollary of that is the ad, I think, that was out during COVID where they had a woman who was like dressed up in a splendid flowing red ball gown and she was grocery shopping because she never had occasion to get dressed up. So I think you're very right in terms of people sort of, chomping at the bit, hoping to go back out into the social world, especially here in New York City. And then as far as the skincare routine, what do you think people are coming in for most? Now, I think there's probably a difference between women and men and you're doing both sexes.
We are doing both. We have a strong loyal clientele who come for the monthly facial every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. I will say, generally, I've seen a lot of skincare. I also think some of that has to be the Zoom effect. When I talk to them, they're spending more time on the camera at home. They want their skin to look great. Also, we've seen increase in services like dermabrasion, microneedling. One of our clients I just saw on Friday, and she saw me and I said, "Oh, you look wonderfully tan. Where have you been?" And she said, "No, actually, I had microneedling here 2 days ago, and I've still got that pink in my skin." I said, "Well, treating you very well." So I think things like those add-on services, under eye treatments, even Natura Vitae, which is our skincare line from Spain. We have added on in the last 6 months a new lip and eye treatment, which is an add-on to our standard facial, either 60 or 90-minute facial, and that demand as well. I'm also seeing it go younger. A lot of women in their late 20s, early 30s who weren't doing facials as often, seeing themselves on Instagram, seeing themselves on camera. They're really taking care of their skin.
So let's talk about that because I think this is something that comes up a lot in terms of patients who come in to be evaluated, both in our offices and I'm sure in terms of what you see there too. The age ranges and the services that they're asking for. What is your younger clientele coming in for mostly? What the middle ages, you don't have to go, decade by decade if it's overlaps a little bit more than that. And then what are some of the, shall we say, more mature patients and clientele opting for?
Okay, well, our younger clientele are usually teenagers. Some start as early as 8 or 10 years old, but generally teenagers who are coming with their parents. Often their entree to us is with a haircut. As you can imagine, there are many places that say we do kids haircuts, we do teens haircuts. Maybe the talent level is not what you're going to find in the heart of New York City. And so I think parents are frustrated because of their kids' frustration with, "Oh, Mom, I hate my haircut," or "I hate my bangs," or "My hair is crooked." Funny, but I think the entree to us with kids is usually surrounding repairing haircuts. We're big on hair repair.
Oh, that's interesting.
Get them in the door. Then, of course, there's things like bat mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs, proms, sweet 16. teens and parents want to treat their kids to something important. So that might be hair and makeup. It may be the manicure and pedicure.
And do you guys also go on site? Do you go to various venues or to people's homes? Do you have that service as well?
We do. We go to apartments regularly. We go to event spaces. And then there's a lot of hotels in the neighborhood and throughout New York City that don't have salon services or even spa services. So we do house calls, and our team is readily available for house calls. We even do house calls in the Hamptons, believe it or not.
Wow.
Or New Jersey, Westchester. We do any type of tri-state area. I would say we have quite a few weddings, and people like to bring in a team. We even do waxing at home, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great. I think for the convenience factor, it certainly is very helpful.
Really is. Have you ever had services at home?
I have not. I like to go out and have the full experience with the mood and the lighting and the scents and everything.
What a nice way to escape from everything for
exactly.
a while, right?
It gives you a reason to put on that red ball gown.
Sue Lynn, with all the ages you mentioned, I wonder, do you have families, like generations that actually stay with you and the salon, like a mom and a daughter?
We have many multi-generational families. We have grandparents, parents, and the grandkids.
Oh, that's great.
Now we just passed our 20th year in business, and I think that being that we have some of our clientele who, as they've gotten older, bring their families into our midst, it's incredibly gratifying to have those three generations. The mom generation, I'm going to say, which is like myself, most of us are in our 40s and 50s. I think we're trying to find healthier solutions, healthy alternatives. It might be in hair color. It might be different facial treatments, and finding that delicate balance between the surgeon, the med spa, and what we do here. Yep. How are we aging gracefully and doing the best that we can do to look younger or longer?
And we definitely have that in common with our patients who come in here too, in terms of achieving natural results and not doing anything drastic or just shocking, because I think there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah, and one of the most difficult things we have to do sometimes is to say no, or at least to say no and suggest something else, which I'm sure that you are faced with probably more than we are, where people just, maybe they can't articulate in words what they want to do, and you have to steer them in the right direction.
Yes. And certainly I've seen that firsthand, being a patient of Dr. Hutchinson's and being in the office, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm definitely looking for a natural result, while I'm willing to play with a little bit of the injectables. I don't want to look strange or look weird or go to a point. I mean, I definitely have friends I've seen, and they would like to achieve a different look than I would like for myself personally. Right. So I think that's really important. And even something which I'm happy to share, I came to Dr. Hutchinson upset with my earlobes because my earrings are not holding anymore. And she did a wonderful job that even my husband wouldn't have noticed, although I did tell him that evening.
Well, thank you.
And they were but the injections in my earlobes just to give me a little fullness and be able to keep my earring in place, and even my ears look younger. I mean, who could imagine that, right?
Oh, that's
when I was
great.
telling my friends, they're like, that's crazy. Like, how did that even come about? Whatever it is, I want it to look younger and better. End of story.
That's interesting. We had a show where we discussed this, the little things, just the small procedures and the small anatomical areas that can be tweaked a little bit or improved upon, and how they can make a significant difference. So here we have it from you.
Well done, Olivia. I'm not surprised, but well done, as usual.
I'm also the timekeeper, so this is the part that Rob hates the most.
Come
when
on.
I say we have
We're
to take
just
a short
getting on
break.
a roll. All
But we have so many things that we still want to talk to you about. You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silic.
And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson and
Ms. Sue Lynn
Farrell. Absolutely.
We're going to take a short break. If you have any questions for us, if you'd like to reach us, our email address is plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. We're going to be right back.
Stay tuned. More Plastic Fantastic next.
Wonder if you should get tested for colorectal cancer? Well, it's the second leading cancer killer in the U.S., and screening helps prevent it. So if you're 50 or older, it's time. Even if it doesn't run in your family. Most often, colorectal cancer occurs in people with no family history. And it doesn't always cause symptoms, especially early on. So don't wait for symptoms to get tested. Screening helps prevent the disease by finding precancerous polyps so they can be removed. Remove the polyp, prevent the cancer. Screening also helps find colorectal cancer early when treatment works best. You might be thinking, oh no, not that test. But here's the thing, you have options. There's more than one screening test. Talk to your doctor to find the one that's right for you. No more excuses. If you're over 50, get tested, because colorectal cancer screening really does save lives. A message from HHS and CDC's Screen for Life campaign.
The premier choice for plastic surgery at its finest. This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Silich. And
most
importantly,
go for it.
Last but not least, Ms. Sue-Lynn Farrell, who is the CEO of the Farrell Group, the Julien Farrell Group,
right.
LLC.
Farrell Hair Care, yes.
And spa and lots of other things. So Sue-Lynn, thank you very much for being again with us today. So you mentioned some of the younger patients that you see and having them come into the salon for hair. And when you said fixing other people's haircuts, I think that's something that we would very much appreciate. I know that when Rob and I have patients who've gone elsewhere and who don't have the best results, it's much more challenging, shall we say. So I think it's great that you're able to do that. But you also mentioned fillers and the age at which the younger patients come to you. So tell us a little bit about how young you see patients in terms of skincare or any other image-related issues that they might come to you for.
Generally teenagers, and I would say probably 70% female and 30% male come to us for facials. That's about the breakdown. And usually that's not always tied into acne. I think certainly they'll seek out a dermatologist, but it's really about skin maintenance. And they're looking for good, clean, healthy skin. So for us, haircuts, skincare, even things like nails and nail trends, hair color, it's teenage. That's generally when they start, and then 20s, 30s, and on up really come to us for a multitude of services.
How do you feel about these teenagers who come in and who have unrealistic expectations in terms of, say, you said not acne so much, but I'm sure you have patients who have pigmentation issues or who have the occasional pimple here and there. And when they're just bombarded with perfect, flawless skin all the time through social media posts, how difficult it is for you to say, well, that's not normal. Everybody has something that's not perfect, and that's what makes you human.
Yes, I think that is a big part of the communication is, I think, for the younger generation, even the moms, even my generation. I think so many women don't realize it's filtered, it's Photoshopped. We talk about that very often with hair color because women bring in pictures of hair color that they really love and they say, I want this color. And we say, well, that actual picture, the colorist will tell them that has a filter added. So if you want that shade, I can come close to it. But our team is even sophisticated enough to be able to identify that. And that's very important with skincare as well, that people understand what the magazine covers used to be and maybe what the magazines that are left still are. Perfection. And that's not who we are every day. It's very hard to compete with those images, and especially seeing, some of the face editing and the waist and the body and the contouring.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Sue-Lynn, we would know nothing about that in terms of pre- and post-op photographs. My God, we must talk every week about doctored and filtered post-op photographs that we see all the time. So yes, I absolutely feel your pain. I understand your frustration on that one.
That's the same with us. I think there's so many people who are editing their work before posting it.
Yeah.
And even that's why video sometimes is stronger because they can see what's going on and to know that it hasn't been Photoshopped when we're shooting someone in the chair and we walk over and say, here's the before, and then you just do the after where they see the blowout and the hair color and it's in that same lighting, same day, same, handbag on the counter. So there's also a way that we try to think about keeping it authentic wherever we can so that we don't have any of those questions.
not just with Instagram, but now with TikTok, where the types of procedures that they're seeing, and then all of the body image issues. We focused a lot on the face and skincare in general, but cellulite never exists on anyone. God forbid. You should be the only person out there who has some cellulite because everybody else's body is perfect. The BMI is always like 18 or whatever. Nobody ever has like a little dimple here and there.
Unbelievable.
Especially for this younger generation. Now, legally, of course, anybody who's a minor who's under the age of 18, they can't be making decisions for themselves. The age of consent is 18. And so they have to come in with a parent. And I think it's the same thing for any skincare that you do as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they need to be with a parent, and we have a sheet as well that's signed for any minor.
So I think that's very important to remind patients. Sometimes they think that they're 16 or 17 and they can go ahead and make decisions for themselves. And obviously they're a very important participant, but legally they do need the parent or the guardian. I think some of the surgical procedures that we do in teenagers, the most common are rhinoplasties, which are nasal recontouring, nasal cosmetic surgery.
Ear surgery.
Yes, otoplasties for even younger patients, the ones who have prominent ears where the ears stick out, and they get a lot of that has to do also with them going to school and kids making fun of them. So there's peer pressure that's related to that.
And I always think that certainly surgery should be the last stop on the beauty train or whatever you're going to eventually do. With younger kids, what Sulin is kind of referencing, with things like fillers and Botox too, I even with that like this to be the last resort. And so a lot of times, to tie it to what you do, many times Olivia and I will say, well, you know what, maybe you should change your haircut. Maybe it's time to get bangs, or maybe it's time to let your bangs grow out. Or have you been to a really good salon or seen a really good stylist or gotten some good skincare? And sometimes it can be as simple as maybe it's color. Maybe it's you get rid of your glasses and you go to contacts. Maybe it could be you just get really good. And then you kind of buy some more time till they're a little bit older. The face continues to age well into the mid-20s. As now we know about, you and I talk about this, Olivia, about the frontal lobe of the brain. Development doesn't even really finish till probably mid to after college.
Well, for some boys, I don't think it ever. Right?
For me, it was about last week. I know.
You're lucky, Sulin. You just have girls, so you don't have to experience.
But there is one thing I want to really talk about where it's really intertwined between what we do and what Sulin does, and that is hair loss. Because that is huge right now. There was just on Sunday this week in London Telegraph, there was a huge piece about how being bald now for a man is no longer even an option, between whether it's shampoo, whether it's medications, topical, oral, all the way down to hair transplantation surgery, which has changed a lot. And that is definitely, speaking of the front line, something that you're on the front line with. And I know it's a very specific interest of your group. And I know that's something that you've been in development for lately. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so Julian, my husband, has been in the hair business since he was a teenager, and he has always been extremely passionate about hair loss, really looking at why it happens, how he can help to fix it.
Okay, so we have to ask you, not to interrupt, but we need to ask you, how does his hair look? And does he still have a full head of hair?
Yes, come on.
He does. He has an incredible head of hair in his early 50s.
Wow.
And if I can share with you, he has pictures that he shows from around 2009 to 2012 when we were in development on our technology in Italy. He started using our hair care. He's never used a traditional shampoo since, not even to test. And he now has an incredible head of hair. He's never had a transplant, a laser, nothing done to his hair whatsoever. So he does have an incredible head of hair, and that certainly you can see it on Instagram, but he's happy to show the pictures and his own before and afters.
That's terrific.
It's made a huge difference. And I think where the hair care originated was that shampoo was developed in the early 1900s. And as he'll say, those original shampoos that were developed, many of them are not that dissimilar to shampoos being used in recent times. And the detergents are too harsh. They're too harsh for the scalp. They just are. I mean, my husband and I are on QVC talking about products all over the world, and I say the detergents that are often found in your shampoo are really designed for your car, your clothes, or your dishes. They are not designed for your scalp. So we developed Restore, which is our hero product, which is a non-foaming shampoo, hair, and scalp treatment all-in-one. And it really focuses on the scalp. It's got a super fast delivery system, and we have 5 proprietary compounds that deliver those ingredients to the scalp so they work on your scalp in the same way your favorite skincare is working on your skin. Keeping it hydrated, bringing the youth back, it's microcirculation. So all of those things that you guys know as doctors, we're doing it, but we're doing it for the scalp.
Do you also have a certain diet that you recommend?
Hold on, I want to find out where to find this shampoo first. I'm literally I'm grabbing my phone now. I'm going to go on Amazon to try and find this, which is may not be the right thing to do.
No, you don't want to go to Amazon.
I'm kidding. Sue-Lin, tell us first about that, because literally I'm like waving my hands at Olivia like, hold on, I got to get some of that for tonight.
So you want to go to julienfarel.com.
Okay.
It is JULIEN, F as in French, AREL.com. And that is the best place currently to find Restore.
And so that's the website. Do you also have an Instagram page, or what are the others? Facebook? What are the other areas that we can find you?
Instagram and Facebook are both Julien Farel also, JULIENFAREL.
Okay, great.
The main location is at 540 Park Avenue in New York City, 61st Street, and we're also now in Palm Beach. So it's easy to find us in either spot.
I'm looking at the Jumbo right now, the Jumbo
Yes.
Vitamin Restore.
You're going to have to come up with a bigger size just for
hold
Rob.
on. I need to know if I need the Jumbo Hydrate Restore or the Jumbo Vitamin Restore. By the way, I've got a full head of hair, like your husband.
So I have to ask a personal question.
Go
if
for
that's
it.
Okay.
Yeah, of
Do
course.
you color your hair?
No.
Okay, because many men do now color their hair. We have a wonderful called salt and pepper or camouflage. So I have to ask, so then you would want to buy the Hydrate Restore, which is for non-colored hair.
Got it.
Our vitamin is a little heavier and designed for hair that may be damaged or broken as a result of processing or any type of chemical straightening treatment.
Got it.
It's pretty popular now, keratin or Brazilian treatments, those type of treatments.
Excellent.
So Hydrate is for you, Rob.
Perfect.
Olivia, you're a vitamin girl.
There we go. Without telling too many
How would
tales.
you know?
Hey,
I've been blonde since birth.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about, and I have to be the bearer of bad news because time flies when you're having fun, and we haven't even gotten to the restaurant topic. So we're going to have to get you back on here, Sue-Lin. But just briefly, what is some of the dietary considerations? What are some of those things that you tell your patients when they're having issues with hair loss?
First and foremost, we usually say, have you been for your annual physical? Because first things first, are you generally healthy? Have you talked to your doctor about hair loss? And have you seen a dermatologist or someone who specializes, maybe a trichologist, maybe they're coming to you as surgeons to look at alternatives like PRP and things that may be required. You know, we also, unfortunately, see quite a lot of female hair loss.
Much more common.
Post-pregnancy, during menopause, of course, and then into the older years as well. We constantly have women complaining about hair loss, change in texture, change in density. And then are they taking an oral supplement? We have different supplements that we'll recommend in conjunction with the doctor, as well as topical. Rob, I think you touched on that, topical from a doctor,
yep.
And possibly like a PRP or a cortisone treatment. We always suggest we do our part, but let's make sure that we get them in the right place to handle the more serious hair loss issues that we can attack only with something like Restore.
And when you mention PRP, just for our listeners who may not know, that stands for platelet-rich plasma, and that is a really fantastic medical intervention provided by the patient themselves. You draw their blood, you spin it down, and then you use the platelet-rich plasma, which is the component without the red blood cells, and that's injected into the scalp in an area where there's hair loss. And that seems to work very well as all those other interventions, Sue-Lin, that you were mentioning. Believe it or not, we have to wrap this up. Rob,
Come on.
I know this
Are
is
you
your...
serious?
Yes.
Well, I got my shampoo out of it, so
Yeah.
I'm happy, although it's not shampoo.
Sue-Lin, can you just mention again the website that our listeners can go to if they have any other questions for you, if there's an email address that they can contact you directly on, and also to order anything or make an appointment with you or with anybody at the salon? Tell us again, what's the best way to get in touch?
It is Julien Farel, JULIENFAREL.com.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can send a DM on our Instagram, and I will get that as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns, help them with any and all hair issues.
Thank you, Sue Lynn, so much for speaking with us and giving us all of your wisdom. Congratulations again on opening the salon down in Palm Beach for all those snowbirds who like to go down there from New York City. You've been listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich
and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson
and Sue Lynn Farrell today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sue Lynn.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
You've been listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Produced by Mike Scheck. This is Bill Eugene speaking. Got a question? Email plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. And be sure to listen right here every week for another episode of Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.